Margaret. I think it's interesting. I want to draw a parallel because I attended the Gender Equality Special Committee this morning, and we had presentations from groups that are involved in care work and some academics. And it was interesting that this same issue arose about not knowing the full extent of the care needs and the numbers of carers and the people who have care work throughout the country, and therefore how difficult it is for these organisations and the supports around them to plan. And I think there is a parallel here with the NCSE and the lack of data to really forward plan for the needs of children with special needs. And that occurs in all our areas, and I think I've heard this through nearly most of the contributions, and that's a real problem, because policymakers and those who have to enforce it need every bit of data at hand in order to plan, and not just for today or tomorrow or the emergency situations, but for the future. So I know it's an area you're very familiar with, because I was at the opening of Our Lady of Hope School with you in Crumlin, and I know you're familiar with the magnificent campaign that the parents and the community conducted there to get that special autism school. But that's open nearly a year now, and they have never ever had any therapists on site. And this is a problem. You can have the school, you can have the SNAs, and you can have the teachers, but some of these children have high special needs, and they need physiotherapy, they need speech and language therapy, they need occupational therapy, and still they have no therapists on site. And I think there's a feeling in the area that, well, you got your school, you've got more than most places, so now your needs must be met, but that is not the reality. There are huge needs in an area like Dublin 12. It's a growing area. It is one part of the country where building apartments and homes is actually happening, and we still don't know what resources are going to be needed for all the new families, never mind the existing families that are there. The community group itself, the D12 Autism Community Campaign, conducted their own survey, which can't have been thoroughly scientific, but they did it with the best that they could do. And they surveyed 35 families and found that out of that 35 families, 56% of the children in the area who had special needs got no services at all. So they're beginning to feel like they've been forgotten about because they got the Lady of Hope School. But it really can't stop at that. And I know, Minister, I've sent you in some PQs, and I know they've been writing to you about it. The area has 17 schools, 4 of them are secondary schools, and none of them have special autism classes. And one of the questions we have to ask, because the experience of a lot of parents is that their children need to be in special autism classes rather than in mainstream. And even getting a place in mainstream means that they get, if they're lucky, the SNA, but they don't necessarily get the therapy that's required. So children fall through the cracks. And the longer this goes on, the more cracks appear and the more children fall through it. So it isn't even a cost-saving mechanism. So I think that needs to be looked at as an example of where things could be done differently, and the possibility of getting one special classroom in every school can't be that too difficult to do, and to do the building work in time. One special classroom due to open in September, the building work hasn't even started on it. So I'd make that plea to you to listen to the parents and those who are involved with the children, and to look at the needs of the area. In Dublin 8, I've been in touch with a principal who really thinks that the department don't grasp the choices that principals have to make on a daily basis, and because of that they are allocated scarce and finite resources, continually having to prioritise children with complex needs that are not equipped or that they're not equipped or resourced to care for. And that means that the children who have moderate needs, which doesn't mean that they don't need anything, but those moderate needs become more grave because they can't be facilitated in the classroom. But they are equally worthy of the resources to cater for their needs and are falling further and further behind. And what we find is a pattern is that with this exasperation, frustration and utterly painful lives that parents have to lead, they are issuing solicitors' letters to the schools in order to try and get results. Expensive for them and expensive for the principal, who have to and are obliged to legally respond to them. So I think we need to first of all start planning for what is required and to understand the absolute data that is required to fulfil the needs and plan for the future. I think also that there's a cohort of schools that are educating children now that are becoming more and more marginalised and left behind. And I know DESH has a special meaning and is supposed to have a special place, but actually they're not getting the resources they deserve. And it's awful to have to come in here complaining all the time about the situation, but I'm lucky. I'm not a parent with a special needs child, and some of them that have to live with that day in, day out are really at the end of their tether. So something drastically different has to be done, and the system needs changing.
Thank you very much.